When Wes Montgomery described how he thought about soloing, he said, "It's a sound," but that's the opposite of how most guitarists approach it. If you're struggling to turn arpeggios and scales into lines, that's probably why. So in this video, I'm gonna show you a system that starts with melody instead of theory, how one minor 7 lick can fit over 4 completely different chords, and how that helps you build a vocabulary of strong jazz lines. This video will help you if your solos always end up sounding like this. But the way that you want to sound and the solos you listen to are more like this. The difference is not the notes, it's the melody, what you do with the notes, and that's not about theory, as Wes told Joe DiOrio about soloing over a 2-5-1.
So I asked him, Wes, when you think of D minor G7 C, or when you see it, what do you think? He said, man, it's a sound. Man, it's a sound. It's not a symbol, you understand? It's not a scale, it's a sound.
He didn't think in notes, he thought in sounds, melodies that he heard. And this might surprise you about jazz guitarists like Pat Martino, Wes Montgomery and Joe Pass, but they didn't solve complicated equations to come up with licks while they were playing. Instead, they relied on having flexible licks that were strong melodies and worked over a lot of chords. Check out how often the same phrase is used on Charlie Parker's solo on Scrabble from the Apple. It's the same phrase, but he's not just repeating it. He makes it work on different chords and he changes what he plays before and how it connects to what comes next. So let me show you the system Parker was using with a very simple lick. To keep it simple, let's start with an A minor 7 arpeggio over an A minor 7 chord. But instead of thinking of it as a set of notes, think of it as this melody. Like this, it has rhythm, phrasing and direction. It's not just a bunch of notes over a chord, and that is when it becomes a sound. Now you can practice combining this with other building blocks and get a complete 2-5-1 lick. Here A minor 7 is the 2 in G major. Using the arpeggios as a melody, not just a set of notes, makes it a lot easier to turn it into jazz lines. Now, if you want to go through these examples at your own pace, you don't need to try to memorize them off the video. I made a free PDF with all the examples. There's a link in the description. Now let's use this sound with a minor 7 arpeggio on a different chord type, a major 7 chord. Let me show you how great the minor 7 lick can sound on a major 7 chord. Now you also want to keep in mind that minor 7 chords are in general solid vocabulary for major 7 chords. Just ask Charlie Parker. Check out what he plays on the F major 7 just before the bridge. He plays an A minor 7 arpeggio over an F major 7 chord. So the rule is simple. If you have a major 7 chord, use the minor 7 found on the 3rd. Here's why that sounds great, using F major 7 as an example. Now in the F major scale, you have these diatonic chords. F major 7, G minor 7, A minor 7, B flat major 7, C7, D minor 7, E half diminished, and F major 7. Here's what you want to notice. The F major 7 is F, A, C, and E, and the arpeggio of the 3rd of that chord, A, is A minor 7. So that's A, C, E, and G. They share 3 notes, and the A minor 7 adds a G, which is really just a 9th over that F major 7, which is a beautiful sound. Check out how our lick sounds on F major 7. As you can hear, it fits perfectly, and I added a short tag to sort of really tie it to the F major 7 sound. To add a bit of context, here it is in a complete 2-5-1. If you want to check out more videos breaking down how to play jazz solos and come through chord progressions with jazz chords, then subscribe to the channel. I publish new videos on this every week. Did you notice the arpeggio that is used on the dominant in this previous example? That's a G minor 7, so our minor 7 lick can also work over dominant chords. Let's dig into that next. You already heard the G minor 7 over C7 in the previous example, and since that works, the rule is use a minor 7 arpeggio from the 5th of the dominant. In fact, if you check out the first lick Wes Montgomery plays in his solo on Unit 7, a blues in C of the Smoking at the Half Note album, it is exactly that, a G minor 7 arpeggio. That's a very clear and great sounding example. So our A minor 7 lick works the same way over a D7 chord, because the 5th of D7 is A. Notice how I'm also using B minor 7, the arpeggio of the 3rd of G major 7. Now check out how it sounds in the context of a full 2-5-1. Creating solid vocabulary and using it in real jazz solos is also what I help the students do in my Jazz Guitar Roadmap course. If you want to join 8,000 other students learning to improvise real jazz solos over an actual jazz standard, then check out the link in the description. Now, one sound that we've not yet applied our minor 7 lick to is the altered dominant. That's the next step. We have a way to use minor 7 arpeggios on minor 7, major 7 and dominant 7 chords, but how does it apply to an altered dominant? Now there's a trick. If you apply tritone substitution, the rule from the last section does the work for you. Let's stick with the 2-5-1 in G major that you already saw. A minor 7, D7 to G major 7. Now if you apply tritone substitution to this, you take the dominant D7 and substitute that with the dominant that shares the same tritone interval, which in this case is A flat 7. And now you have this progression. A minor 7, A flat 7, G major 7. And now it gets easy because we can use the same rule for the A flat 7 and use the minor 7 arpeggio from the 5th of that chord. So you have the A flat 7, A flat, C, E flat, G flat. And of course the 5th is E flat, and the arpeggio of the 5th is an E flat minor 7. And notice that we're using a minor 7 chord a half step above the dominant. So E flat minor 7 over D7. And in a 2-5-1, that sounds like this if we use our minor 7 lick moved to E flat minor 7. Remember that you can get the PDF if you want to explore these licks and exercises at your own pace. There's a link in the description. So that's the system. One strong melodic lick, and instead of calculating new things to play over each chord while you're playing, you just know how it sounds and where it fits. And that is what separates a vocabulary from a bag of random scales and arpeggios. One of the best ways to turn scales into music is this Barry Harris exercise. In this video, I cover the exercises he uses to connect scales to songs and step by step turn them into solid jazz lines. It's a great way to play real jazz solos and learn songs at the same time. It will change how you practice. Check it out. Learn jazz, make music.